All right, so now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Second Great Awakening. And first, I want to actually talk about the connection between the Market Revolution and the Second Great Awakening. Historians have talked about how the religious revival, the Second Great Awakening, is actually a direct effect of the Market Revolution. The Market Revolution was actually hindering a lot of yeoman farmers and common, ordinary people living outside of big cities because a lot of the business was big business, so it was helping business people who mostly lived in urban centers. It was also causing people to have to leave their farms and move into cities to get jobs. Um, so it's a bit of a retaliation on the part of these yeoman farmers that were being hindered financially by the market revolution, and it's they look to religion to uh, maybe give them answers, but also some of them are using religion to their benefit, in terms of claiming to be prophets and then actually starting new communities and creating new religions. We see that in the book, One That Failed, Kingdom of Matthias, right? Robert Matthews is claiming to be a prophet. But we'll also see that in a religion that's very prominent today, the Church of Latter-day Saints, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this later, or the Mormon religion, is actually started during the Second Great Awakening by a man who claims to be a prophet, Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith. Not John Smith, Joseph Smith. Okay. So let me give you a little bit of background. So the Second Great Awakening was really these religious revivals that began to sweep across the nation during this time period, and it added a religious underpin to the celebration of personal self-improvement, self-reliance, and self-determination. Although the first revivals were organized by established religions, ones that already existed, in other words, leaders alarm. I'm sorry. So they initially were started by established religions, and they were revivals because there were lower attendances to church. So this was a way to get more Americans to church by holding these revivals. But that actually quickly expanded far beyond existing churches. The religious revivals in the Second Great Awakening had their height between the years of 1820s and the 1830s. Okay, when a very famous member of this community named Charles Grandison Finney, and you will read about Finneyites in the prologue of this book, became very, very popular. He held month-long revival meetings in upstate New York and in New York City. He was the son of a Connecticut farmer, Finney was, and he was inspired to preach after attending a religious revival in 1821, and he grew in fame quite quickly. He had a very vivid and actually kind of horrifying way of talking about hell. That was famous, one of his famous aspects of his religious rhetoric. He warned of hell in vivid language while offering the promise of salvation to converters who abandoned their sinful ways. The awakening spread to all across the U.S., and it democratized American Christianity by actually making it a mass enterprise. So, and so it's becoming a mass movement. People across the U.S. are doing this. And interestingly, this is when a lot of these new religious prophets seem to just appear regularly, people claiming to be prophets. The people that attended these revivals were a mix of people, which made it interesting too, because it made it so that there was some sort of equality in these religious revivals. There were poor people and rich people attending together. There were male and female, so gender was considered equal in some senses. And sometimes there were even mixes of races. Both black and white people would worship alongside one another and pledge to abandon sins in favor of the godly life. The awakening stressed the right of private judgment in spiritual matters and the possibility of universal salvation through faith and good works. So Finney insisted that every person was a moral free agent. So they had the ability to go to heaven and by doing good in their life. And this was incredibly unique to the Puritan tradition in the US, which really actually believed in predestination, so that your destination to either go, this is put simplistically, but to heaven or hell was predecided before even your birth. So you couldn't change that with good works on earth. Revivalists, so although they were kind of fighting against the the market revolution, they actually used it. They used the market revolution to their advantage by raising funds, embarking on lengthy preaching tours that they would use the canals, like the Erie Canal, to travel, steamboats and railroads, and they would flood the country with mass production or produce. So they were actually using these concepts of mass production that were becoming popular and important to the consumer and to the American economy through the market revolution. So although they were claiming to be kind of against concepts of the market revolution, they were actually using it to their advantage, which I think is incredibly interesting. They did often, though, rail against greed. So they saw greed as a sinful desire. Okay. So the Second Great Awakening illustrated how the end of government support for established churches promoted religious pluralism. So, meaning, in other words, that there was more support for religious pluralism, which would be more of like an egalitarian examination of society, as opposed to the hierarchies that are within government. So it's working for, especially the Finneyhites believed in the end of patriarchy through marriage and the end of slavery, leading to more egalitarian worlds. On the other hand, some of the religions that were coming out actually promoted concepts of patriarchy, and this is one of those includes Joseph Smith, who started the Church of Latter-day Saints. So Joseph Smith founded the Church of Latter-day Saints in the 1820s. This is also known as the Mormon religion. He was a farmer from upstate New York who, as a youth, began to experience religious visions. Although Mormons have similar beliefs as Christians, they also incorporated more controversial beliefs such as polygamy, or the ability to marry more than one wife. Joseph Smith actually claimed to have been led by an angel to a set of golden plates covered with strange writing. Smith actually translated and published these plates and titled it the Book of Mormon, after a 4th century prophet, which is the name of a prophet, Book of Mormon, or Mormon. But the Mormon religion, or the Church of Latter-day Saints, actually went against concepts of, and actually, went against concepts of egalitarian that were promoted by Finney and the Finneyhites, and actually believed in a greater, or a more structured patriarchy where gender was in a hierarchy with men above. Joseph Smith was pushed further and further west because of his controversial life and beliefs. He had, some say he had up to 30 wives, and this led them to be pushed west and ultimately arrive in Utah and create a community for themselves in Utah. So it's interesting because this Second Great Awakening and many people that participated also participated in the market revolution in terms of utilizing inventions such as railroads and steamboats to promote their ideas and their beliefs, but also they participated in the Western movement that was being produced produced by the market revolution. So, very interesting interactions between the two. So, I guess that's really all I had, but I do hope that this gives you a good start to Kingdom of Matthias. I hope you really enjoyed it. It's a great, entertaining read that really encapsulates a lot of weird stuff that happened within this Kingdom of Matthias. And I'm looking forward to reading your papers, which you'll hear more about in a couple modules later. Or not a couple, just around the corner. All right, so enjoy. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.